Well, what do you know? We are back. And just like that, we are back. And welcome to Chronicles of Power, a podcast dedicated to the world of power, where I review and break down the latest episode in the Powerverse. We are brought to you by Private Listen, your source for all things music, sports, culture, and entertainment. Now, if you haven't done so already, please make sure that you hit that follow or subscribe button, whether you are on YouTube or you're listening to this wherever podcasts are out. Now, I do have a special guest in the house with me today, and I love that for every episode this season, I've had a different power creator or a different creator within media come on and speak about force with me. And today we have none other than my bestie, my brother in arms,
Indeed, I am.
Nagier from Big Goat Media.
What's
Yay!
up?
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to have you. I know that you guys have been doing really in-depth reviews on your channel and on your platform. How are you feeling about the season thus far?
I think it's been one of their strongest seasons, which is says a lot to them because Force has been a little bit of a struggle. It's not really because of the show, because it just kept getting hit by obstacles. There was the strike, so they couldn't really properly promote it. There was the turmoil within Stars and Lionsgate, so they really couldn't promote it. So this feels like their very first season of them really collectively being able to do it all right. All the promotional stuff, no issues with the writers' strike, no
Hmm.
issues with and at this point, I haven't just the most momentum and confidence to really flesh out a proper season. So yeah, I've been loving it, and I think they're going to really nail the landing. I mean, we're episode 8 here, 2 more to go. A lot to talk about within those 2 episodes. A lot to talk about with this episode, but I think definitively this has been their strongest season, and I may argue it may be one of the strongest seasons in all of Power.
Well, yeah, we gonna argue today. Oh, so first, let me say happy holidays to
Happy
everyone. If you
holidays.
are celebrating Christmas this week, Merry
Hmm.
Christmas. So let me just say that I am still in the holiday spirit. Today I have on my light up Rudolph sweater. Yep, 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 yep. She's lighting up a little bit. I'm about to turn off the light so that my battery doesn't run out. But Najir and I actually just had a really good conversation. I was telling him that we didn't really do gifts for my children this year because they don't really need anything. So it's more about spending time with each other. And I hope you guys got to spend time with each other and you watched this episode here of Force.
Yeah.
So today we're going to be reviewing episode 308 entitled Build Back Better, written by my other bestie, friend to the show, who has been on the show. And if you haven't already, she has done an interview with us and it is available on YouTube. Her name is Amelia Swedeen. So you can get into her head about writing about Tommy. As a matter of fact, one of the things that Joseph Sikora said when we saw him at the Paley Center, actually not at the Paley Center, he did a screen in at the Angelica here in New York, and one of the people that he credited, besides Lamont Edwards, of knowing the Tommy character the best was Amelia Swedeen. So I want to give a big shout out to her for writing this episode. And also, this episode was directed by Monica Raymond. She has been within the Power universe for a very long time. She has directed other episodes. So please, if you see them on Instagram, just give them a shout and a holler. They're doing amazing work within the writing industry and the directing industry. But I'll start this episode off. I
No,
am
let me
very
let me butt real quick because I
Go ahead.
there's something that needs to be said there
Go ahead.
because I love how the fans swear they know this show better than the people that's been on this show for the 10 years. So when we say like good writing and good directing, that's not because of the execution of just the shows. Like these people know these characters. Y'all think we are nuts and we study this? They literally have to do it for a job. So they have to be thorough. And I know there's going to be little gaps and little inconsistencies and whatnot. But you're not going to tell somebody who's basically creating these characters that you know them better than them. That's always what's wrong with people. It's like, for instance, like if I'm not going to tell you how to write a black woman better than me at the end of the day, especially because that's what you live by. And it's the same thing for these people that's grown these characters. They know these characters, and that's not a race or a color thing. That's a thing because they know these characters better than us because they're not consuming it. They're creating it. So yeah, we can
Mm,
nitpick certain little things, but like again, when you and that's what I love about what you do. And we also echo it on ours as well too. It's like we start off by giving credit to the writers and directors because at this point you have to start looking at it like almost like a team where you be like, all right, we got a LeBron getting ready to play with Kobe on this team because we know what that writer could bring, we know what that director could bring, and then you put them together, and then you start thinking about what episodes they're in. You're like, oh, you putting them together for an episode 9? Oh, I already know what's about to go down. Like, that's the notion that y'all need to walk into these episodes with before y'all get into anything, anybody's little theories and breakdowns. It's like, look at the team that they're assembling before that episode even start. And then start there when you just want to start to review and nitpick things. So I appreciate you always doing that. And that's why y'all got the good rapport with these folks because they appreciate how y'all appreciate their craft and how y'all dissect their craft because you understand where it's coming from. Now we can talk the show.
I agree. No argument from me there. But what I will say is you bring up a good point about looking at who is doing each episode, because that's something that I actually take really, really seriously. Because if you look at the earlier episodes, I always know that they're going to have Shooter, right? So you always know that they're going to
hmm
have Sierra Claude within the first 4 or 5 episodes, right? She either does episode 4 or 5. But then I know when things are about to happen. I know when bad things are afoot. I know Rivera is going to direct
Episode
that
9.
episode. Episode 9 is coming. But I'll hold
Yep.
off on that because the question that I was gonna ask you earlier was, tell me 2 things that you liked about this episode, and then after that, after we dissect that, we'll go into 2 things that you didn't really like. So first, 2 things that you like.
I think instantly to see it was something that I said before about JP. I don't think we had a chance to talk about it, but I've always said, like, I kind of was wondering what was going to be JP's significance this season. He's kind
Mm,
of been the heart and soul to the family, Tommy's family, his family, but really hasn't been a character that's been outside, literally. I think he's been out twice. He went to D-Max in Marshall Place once, and he went and caught some hands this episode. So it kept being one of those type of things where I'm like, I'm trying to see the vision of what JP's significance is this season. And I thought they did a great job in making his death matter. That's one thing Power does good. And I know y'all love deaths because y'all like to feel like death has the emotional value of you knowing it all. Like, oh my God,
mhm,
I knew they were going to die. But like, has many, and I know you've talked to many, many people, both on the craft team, production, actors, etc., that deaths are a domino effect. You eliminate a character to either elevate another character or elevate an arc. And I was, I kept saying what to do with JP, and it never crossed my mind. I know people were so critical, like, how didn't you see JP was going to die? Like, this is a character that's been inside. How you going to catch a bullet? He just sitting inside, which who would have thought? Also, really quickly, too, Big Baby is in like literal trouble in real life. I, for me, I'm like, there's no way. I didn't think they were going to use him. It's the safe thing that most people do. If somebody's in some type of trouble in real life, they start to rewrite and remove the character. He could have easily just whatever in jail, and that would have been it. So the fact that King Kilo was the one that had to be the threat that goes to JP Door, I just was like, you know what? They made a ballsy move. They made the death with JP matter, and so much more to come with Jenard with that. So I love the handling of JP's art this season in a way that I felt was not really in my deck of cards of what was going to happen. I love
okay.
that.
That
And
that's a
then
good one.
and then the other thing I want to say is too, I think that Shanti, Shanti being stepping up, and one thing about Power, and I don't care how y'all want to look at this, the most consistent thing in Power outside of random sex scenes and some and somebody dying is they always write strong women characters.
Mhm.
um and Shanti has been the latter of that for a little while. She's kind of been the side piece. She's kind of been, hiding in the shadows. She's been kind of trying to find her way. I love the fact that if you really look at Shanti's arc this season, she's been somebody that's really been, I would say, not only just betting on herself, but like digging into like really her self dignity, her worth, or her value, and in this drug game and whatnot. Kind of wonder like how am I using ethical terms for something that's bad? But let's just call it what it is. She stood on business time and time and time again. And even, letting emotions the Lambo with the bat scene, dope. But I think that was definitely the period at the end of the sentence said, like, no, I'm done with the foolish games, with these crackhead games, this crackhead person. My name means more to me than love or this nonsense with this person. And to see her basically go from trying to help Jenard, almost like his white knight, which is crazy, right?
Mhm.
To at the end of this, is feeling very like like a trajectory of like to the person that's going to run Chicago. She is literally. It's funny enough. She's literally done what Tommy's been trying to do in 3 seasons, almost in a half a season. She's positioned herself. She's gained territory. She hasn't started war. You know, her and Che is assumed must be. And I think because of how they write the characters, Che has to respect her because you're gonna be like, man, you really out here doing all this. You make business. I love money. I think we're going to be good. So I love what they've been able to do with Shanti. Very low key, but like I feel it being a major power move by her and the character that I think when it's all said and done, because everybody's like, who's going to survive, who's not. I feel like Shanti's going to be sitting on a throne in Chicago.
Well, let me put a little asterisk there because that's another thing that we're gonna have to argue about. That's another thing that we're gonna have to argue
Fair
about.
enough.
Okay,
Fair
I'll
enough.
say I'll say my 2 things and then we
Yeah.
can move on to the episode, and I'll probably, like, when we start talking about Shanti, I'll tackle,
Hmm.
whether or not she'll be holding the crown for Chicago. So 2 things that I liked. I liked that Bobby is protecting Stacy's legacy. I like that he isn't necessarily throwing her under the bus because of what she told him. I like that he's trying to be coy in terms of how he knows that Tommy was a part of her murder. There's something to be said about even if you were on bad terms with someone, that they'll still protect you, even if you are, you're not doing the best in terms of relationship. And I think that that says a lot
Hmm.
about his character as a
Yeah.
character within the show. And I love that he's trying to avenge her in the right way. Now,
It's almost like he
in
took his vows very serious.
like he exactly. And I appreciate that about him, right? So another thing that I liked in the episode, I feel like I'm gonna regret saying this in a little bit, but when when Maria killed the worst hitman ever,
Worse. Outside the four horsemen. Outside the four horsemen. But
outside of the
yes, the
four
worst.
outside of the four horsemen, from that was back in season one, right? Just a memory refresher, you guys. If you
They
don't
were talking to
remember
them like they
season
were
one,
Thanos. They was like, yo, when they come to America, it's going down. I'm thinking to myself, like, oh man, who about to be these four giant? They got washed. But yes, the
they
worst,
got
whatever his
washed
name,
in
Titus.
no time. None of them survived. All of them died. They made this whole big deal, say, "Oh, we're gonna bring these people from Ireland. They are like what Nagier said. They are like Thanos. When they came there, they got killed. Easy, no problems." And by the end of the episode, they were all gone, finished.
Hated. Really quick, I'm sorry to cut you off. What
Uh
I
huh.
really hated about it is that I was expecting these big barbaric orange beard mammoths, right? And then even if we weren't going to get that by statue, I was like, man, we need somebody with a personality like Conor McGregor to come in and like make these people feel formidable. And they fucking got washed, bro. I really need to know why that was such a throwaway. Cause they really hyped them. They're like, listen, if they come, they say if they come and they find out that Claudia's doing what she's doing, and because you look like y'all about to lose y'all turf in Chicago, it's about to be hell on earth. They might as well have been the Albanians. Just throwaway Power Ranger putties. Cause
Exactly.
like they do it there. But yeah, Titus horrible. Horrible.
Oh my gosh, glorious. So Maria, so Maria killing the worst hitman ever was my favorite part. Oh, was one of my favorite parts of the episode because she pulled that thing out, she pulled the blicky out, and then she also ran him over a couple times. But she stayed on the scene, called Tommy so that he could come. And he's like, "Oh my gosh, there's fingerprints everywhere." But they eventually get it cleaned up. We got to stay with it. It's power, right? We got to stay with it. She's
Mm-hmm.
at a
Mm-hmm.
hospital. in the parking lot. She runs over someone multiple times and shoots them, and no one is around to see any of this. No one. Not a soul. But she did get the job done. Titus is no longer a threat. They were able to figure out that it was Titus because Miguel eventually let them know that, he actually had a bounty on his head
He came for
because
me.
he agreed to kill Tommy.
Mhm.
But we'll get into that later. So those are my two things. And now let's go into the episode. So we open up the episode. Oh, Nagier, Nagier, Nagier. We open up the episode with finding Miss Stacy Marks, the U.S. attorney's body on the street, killed in the street. And Bobby comes over to the scene. He assesses it. He does do one thing. How did you feel about him making that phone call to Tommy at the scene, taking the phone, and then eventually telling Sang about the phone?
Yeah. So, I mean, Lucas said all the time, and I
Shout out to
98%
Lucas.
Lucas, my co-host, y'all.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we've been on this thing of saying that Bobby is toting the finish line to be the only legitimate cop in Power history. So we're keeping a close eye on his actions right now to see if he's going to be the one, if he's actually going to be able to do the unthinkable here. When he called it, it's emotional. And I just put myself in the mindset of this is a guy that was fighting for his marriage. And I go back to even in my conversation with Miriam in the beginning of the season, who plays Stacey Marsh, where I said that she's been so focused on, her marriage campaign that she was letting her marriage slip through her fingers. And when there was time where they needed to have tough conversations, and Bobby was looking for some measure of reassurance in the sense of like, what are we doing? Do you still love me? And she just wouldn't utter it out of his mouth. So this is a guy that's been struggling with obviously working and doing his job and everything we know his job demands because of the show. But in the background, this is a guy that has to see his wife, who may or may not love him because he doesn't know, day to day, and also have to rub shoulders with her constantly in order to get what needs to be done for the job. And they supposed to have a professional conduct to do so. But at the same time, too, he's a man. He's going to protect her, and he's going to protect her not only at home but in the office. To see her body on the ground, you have to imagine as a man that's looking at his wife with so many unanswered questions, the what ifs, the possibilities, the future, but also
Mhm.
holding secrets in terms of what may have led to this. You're like working through emotions, but also working professionally. This is internal turmoil, which is why I love this scene because when making that call, it wasn't a quick decision of I'm about to call him and kill him. This was a guy that was struggling. You could see him shaking and contemplating, like, oh my God, what should I do? And obviously now he's not sure, like, wait a minute, I shouldn't even have this phone. But wait, if I call him, what could this mean for me? And even to the point where I feel like he even lacked his better judgment. The same thing that she stood on before she died, where she says, I want to make sure that I go down for this. You don't. We can't have both of our careers go tank. Where he's even jeopardizing his career possibly because of what he's
Mhm.
doing in order to do so. This is a super emotional man right now, looking to just figure out a way to like either release some measure of emotion or frustration or anger because his wife is dead right there. He has an idea of who it is. He sees a little bit of evidence. It's a lot. And I think they really created that conflict for us, the viewers, with that in such a short 2 scene moment of saying like Bobby is really right now not okay. That's the best way to put it. And he's going to have to try to find balance to either move on, make peace with the love of his life that's now dead, but also her legacy, his legacy, everything, and also just being smart to make sure that this doesn't come back on him. So it's a lot.
Both emotional turmoil and also trying to protect his legacy and her legacy professionally and together, right? He doesn't want everyone to know that she was got by Tommy. Eventually, he does think that he's saying in confidence to Sang that he believes that she may have been under Tommy's thumb at in some way or some shape or form. But even then, he doesn't fully let it out. But I screamed when he told him. I was like, "No person that you
Well,
think you
he
can
knew.
trust. He's not who you
Yeah.
think he is."
But I borrow Lucas's comments here because I same as you, but he said he trusts Sane because he also possibly felt Sane was also trying to protect her legacy because that is his boss. And I say you're right because if there's one other major bad guy in power that doesn't always necessarily have a character, but because we know how sort of the hierarchy work is internal affairs. Like you have to think about this now if they come in there and they realize that there was corruption within that office, everybody's getting got. So that's just as bad as him having Ortega on one hand, internal affairs on the other hand. Your wife, your family, your job, everything's destroyed if you don't protect what it is about your boss, unless you really strategically have a plan about how you're going to go about this, which we know at some point he's going to have to the preservation of himself and his family and worrying about what Ortega is going to do to him over what happens at the job. So he's going to have to strongly, make a pivot. But to the point, Bobby had the wherewithal of also knowing too, like this is evidence you can't even use anyway. You
Mm,
know, I can tell you a little bit about it, but you can't use this. They know this. Everybody knows that you can't use. That's why he was like, this is admissible. He's like, but I told you in conference. Oh yeah, you're right. So I know information. I just don't know how to use this or if we can use this. All that did was create a bond of trust between the two of them, which I think Bobby might be able to leverage down the line because now he feels like he's in there with him, you know?
I was wondering about that, right? So even with him telling him about it, and I won't belabor this point, but with him telling him about it, and I do have to be cognizant of where we are within the season because we're at episode 8 right now. There really isn't that much he can do with the information because if we had another season of Force, maybe I would say, "Oh, I know how this is going to work." Eventually, it is gonna be let out that Stacey was corrupt in some way, shape, or form, and then that's how we will just close up that storyline and not have to worry about the US attorney, what Sang is doing, how was he involved, how Ortega is eventually going to get out, because we do see the preview that he is eventually let out of prison. But
Good.
anyway, so what I was saying was because of where we are within the season, I already know that whatever Bobby tells Sang, it's probably not gonna hold too much weight. Actually, that may not be the right wording. We may not be able to know the actual weight of what he is saying because we're not going to have that much time to resolve it. So I'm like, we're already at episode 308. We only have 309 and 310. We still haven't seen Tariq, even though they promised us or alluded to that Michael Rainey Jr. will be joining the season. So we're at 308. Whatever Sang is gonna do, it doesn't really matter at this point. So moving on. Done with Bobby. Done with Stacey for right now. Anyway, moving on to Tommy, who is in a rush because at this point he is talking to Maria and he's like, "Listen, I did some stuff last night that I kind of had to do, didn't really think it through, but I also got kicked out of CBI and I got my back kicked in. So we gonna make this work." And she comes up with the brilliant idea, right? Call my brother. why why don't you just team up with my brother who has been trying to kill you? And if that isn't the power way, if someone has been trying to kill you, you should now team up with them. Remember Tommy, Ghost, and Kanan? Kanan has been trying to kill Ghost since he was behind bars. And then by season 3, they are brother in arms and they are on the same team. How do you feel about Miguel possibly joining Tommy because Tommy is essentially an outsider? He has always been an outsider, but he did build up the coalition. Do you feel it's a good idea for them to join sides or join in arms together?
For television purposes, hell yes. Logically, I just don't know. It's
Child.
hard to really understand, ramifications of what's been lost and what's been sort of, argued in terms of positions and other prior beefs that you can resolve that for the better good of business and money. Maybe it does supersede it, but I don't know. It's yeah. I when she said it, I was like, yeah, of course. That's something I've been hitting at the entire season. I was like, hey, they a friend of my friend, an enemy of my enemy is my friend. And in this case, okay, once again to Lucas, because he knows and you knows how much I love Fast and Furious, but he's entirely right. This is no different than Dom and Brian. And then his sister Mia is like, why don't y'all just be friends? And then we just get like 10 movies of them being friends, doing what they got to do. It was unlikely foes now going out across the world with the master heights, even going up in space. So yeah, I get it, and I'm down for it. It makes sense though. But as we know later on, it's even more important because now it is about, when you talk about the pie of Chicago, it's all about, who has the most slices at this rate. And so you have to align, because while y'all are playing corner boy shenanigans, you still got the two cartels that's sitting above, wanting to ensure that their money is being tunneled correctly. And if you don't answer them, you got a bigger problem, because even with the cartel bosses being in Chicago, we know that they have bosses in other countries. That's just the even bigger of a threat. So I do get that hierarchy of saying like, well, I don't know, man. I guess we gotta put this beef to the side. We don't want Che to come after us. We don't want Ortega to come after us. So we might want to be the strongest side of this, and hope for the best here.
Let me ask you a question, because there's something I was probably going to hold this question off till later when we actually see him. So, like in my notes, I do it scene by scene, but let's tackle this right now. I want to go over Che because he kind of annoys me for a couple reasons, right? So Che is gun ho on them not starting a war. That part I understand, right? I understand why he doesn't want to start a war on the streets. He doesn't want to I know that it's for the reasons of not bringing additional attention to them that they don't need, right? A U.S. attorney has just been killed, plus bodies are dropping. We don't need that extra smoke.
Yeah.
But if Ortega is sending people after your crew to kill them, are you just gonna lay down and take it every single time?
That I
And
just
then,
didn't understood. I just did
yeah,
not understood.
in addition to that, right? Why? So he says something to Tommy along the lines of, "I don't want no bodega business." And what he's saying by that is he doesn't want to operate on a small scale. I get that, right? I can put that together. But why why force someone or try or threaten to kill them even though they are trying to get you the business that you want? They are trying to make this a bigger thing for you. Threatening to kill them even though they are working for you and they're paying you on time. It's not like Tommy came there with an excuse. It was like, "Oh, I ain't got your money today, partner.
Yeah, yeah,
Imma
yeah.
have to come check you another time." Like, so you're threatening to kill him because he came and paid you? Like,
Yeah.
I don't understand. But if you can help me or, like, walk me through what you think the thinking is behind, him not letting Miguel react, or even in this instance, him not making, like what you just brought up just now, him not making Tommy and Diamond be friends or come together and keep the coalition together regardless of whatever internal beef they have. He should have forced them to continue working together,
Yeah.
not just say, "Oh, I heard you got kicked out of CBI."
Yeah, Che is like a silent partner, silent investor. He doesn't if you know, but he also doesn't want to be very like face fronting business owner or runner with this. And yeah, that's exactly what it seems like. It's like, yeah, I want my money to come in, but I also don't want to play peer mediator or therapist here. And if I
Yeah.
don't, then I'll just kill you, and then the next person will step up. Again, at that side of things, I can't pretend like I understand the hierarchy, but yeah, it definitely warrants like business management skills. Like, this could be done a lot better if you just sit your folks down, and by all means, instead of just trying to like use like threat individually, collectively tell everybody, listen, y'all get on the same page or this is all done. Y'all get no product and whatnot. Which on the other case, people say, well, if you don't, then you don't get no money, which we also know that if the Marquez cartel, Marquez, because that is no Marquez is Ortega's. I'm sorry, this is the Estrada
Right.
cartel. So,
Estrada.
which you know, if you leave the Estrada cartel, then well, maybe there's a threat that it goes to the Marquez cartel. I mean, he I would imagine he's down to play ball and to get money and if he can get folks to slide over to him, he would accept it. So I don't think Che is playing a good game if that's what it ultimately comes down to.
At
If
all.
we were trying to make here. Yeah, it's just silent partner who's like, I don't know, maybe his name holds so much weight that people despair, but logically people aren't really thinking. You know what's been funny, really quickly? No one has mentioned the idea of knocking Che off the board.
And if Ghost was there, that would have been the first thing he said.
That's true. That
Che
is
would have been
100% true.
Che would have he Ghost would have had a plan to kill Che from back in episode 4. Once once Tommy and Diamond would have came together with that whole deal, Ghost would have been like, I ain't dealing with all these people. Let's just knock him off the board. One less person for us to worry about, and I'll kill him in an elevator with a shoestring. But let's move on because we're still dealing with the fallout or the blowback of everyone finding out that Stacey Marks has died. So let's tackle Vic real quick. Vic is with his wife, and I keep mentioning this is also his wife in real life. So you can kind of see the chemistry on screen there. Because most people, let me address this. Most people within this show, the chemistry just isn't there. I don't know. Tommy and Maria, it's not really hitting for me. But Vic, Vic and his girlfriend on screen, who is really his wife in real life, they look like they actually like each other.
Yeah. Also, I think Vic does a good job, or Shane does a good job with Vic to make Vic just look like a lover boy regardless. Cause
He
I was
does.
actually digging kind of him and Gloria in the earlier seasons
That's
and
true
believed
too.
it, you know?
That's true too. I actually believe them. I
Yeah.
believe them. But anyway, so Vic finds out that Stacey Marks has been killed, and he finds out from his girlfriend. She is already down for Vic. It's only been 2 weeks, but she is like, listen, it's a good thing you got an alibi who works for the DNC, right? I could tell him that you was here. No big
Hmm.
problem. We just met each other. We don't got no kids together. We're not married. We're not really tied to each other. But I am your alibi. I'm gonna do what is it that you need me to do? You need me to come down there and make a statement with
Hmm.
you?
Hmm. She ready.
She's ready.
All she wants to do is write her memoir out of all of this. Which to me, at first I said, like, she's doing all this so she can snitch in a book later and get a book deal. She's like, I don't care what we do. As long as I can just write my book. I was like, oh, okay.
Listen, so long as I don't got to deal with these corrupt people out here and I could go write my book, tell me what to do. But he does tell her what to do. He says, you need to get out of here. They just killed Stacey Marks. My ass
Yeah.
is on the line right now.
Hmm.
You need to get out of here. And she's like, well, I still got to get my affairs in order. Girl, you want to die? Because
Yeah.
Tommy is coming. He's
Hmm.
coming.
Hmm.
Vic is putting things together. He's piecing it together. He's like, listen, Tommy just got kicked out of CBI. AC Marks is dead. What is my next move? Because he doesn't really have the protection, or maybe he doesn't think that he has the protection of the U.S. Attorney's Office. He immediately thinks, snap, they're gonna think I did this. So he's already fumbling. He's like, oh God, what do I have to do right now? But she jumps over the top and says, I'll help you. So one thing quelled. But then he gets a call from Mighty Ranger Bobby. And Bobby is like, Vic, you got to come in because and he's like, well, why do I have to come in? I didn't do anything. Listen, I got an alibi. I was in my house. I was with this girl. Listen, we got this. He was like, no, Vic, we don't think that you did it. We think that Tommy did it. And Vic is like, yeah, that makes sense. I was thinking the same thing too. Right? So it's like, so now everybody's on the same page.
Yeah.
But also Vic wants to get out from under Tommy's thumb. And Vic eventually takes his little Irish self, takes his little leprechaun self. They made that joke in the show. That's not me. They made that joke in the show.
Hmm.
He goes over, goes to the pot of gold, jumps over the rainbow, right? And eventually grows some balls and goes to confront Tommy and it shoots at Tommy's feet. And I'm
That
like, yo,
that sets him up too, by the way. He put together a
sets
whole plan, you know?
puts a whole plan to set him up. It has a whole conversation with him. He's like, how does it feel to be a puppet? How does it feel to dance like this? And I'm like, is this not the same Tommy that you knew was gonna kill you from before? Wh- What is making you think that he won't kill you now or eventually? Now, I have said before, I do think Vic is gonna get out of this. I have no proof. And I have not seen the final episodes, but I do think that Vic is going to get out of here only because, and here's the reasoning that I gave before was we haven't really seen them kill an entire bloodline in power. And if Claudia is dead, the mom was dead from before we met them, the father is dead. Are we really going to just extinguish the entire Flynn bloodline like this? I don't think so. So Vic has a lot of plot armor right now, which is why he is able to shoot at a lunatic like Tommy. Like that. But
Yeah.
tell me, how did you feel about the scene where Vic confronts Tommy?
I think it was more about frustration more
Yeah.
than the idea of wanting to be a killer. I don't think Vic is a killer, but if there's one thing Vic is willing to kill for, that's love. So,
Hey.
so him killing his brother essentially, his childhood friend. They had that moment and whatnot. This lets you know to what extent he'll go for love. But I just think that, yeah, he's not a killer. I think it was just one of those type of things of, and Vic, and how you want to look at it, because Joseph looked good for his age, and Shane is younger.
Hmm.
Um, and at a time you could almost forget that like there's a significant age gap here, but also there's a significant experience gap as
Experience. I
well
was going to
too.
say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's not acting by like, but we're talking about the characters and what they do. And Vic has always been. I mean, this is just to kind of go back since you bring up the Flins. Claudia was easily the next best person to run it, but she's a woman. She couldn't do it, so they had to push it on Vic. That's why they had the sibling dynamics between the two, because you had the one that wanted to be the rightful heir to the throne, and the person that was by the Old Testament book of Ireland that he had to be, and he didn't want it. He just wanted to be in love and roll out. So I think this was a coming to man moment almost for Vic, where he was trying to show Tommy that he can hold his own. He can sneak up on him too. I could get you if I wanted to get you. Look at me, I'm doing something big. In a way, it's almost it's kind of silly. In a way, it's almost no different than D-Mac trying to prove himself to Tommy at the same token. So it wasn't like he was trying to kill him. I think he wanted to show him that he could get him if he wanted to. Leave me alone. I want to get out of here and roll out. And I thought they executed that right. Everybody with a gun isn't a killer. Everybody that has a gun isn't a shooter. And in this case, there wasn't no intentions to kill. I think this was just him trying to prove that I'm a man too, and I can get you. I caught you slipping, and boom, I'm out. And good luck to you because they're going to come arrest you and you're going to do time and you're going to be a puppet for them just like I was. And I'm going to go be in love with Ray. Bye.
Bye. Ah, Vic, 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 Vic. I don't know if Vic isn't a killer. I know that he isn't cut out for this life the way how Tommy is, and he isn't as ingrained in it as Tommy or Ghost or maybe even D-Mac, who has a affinity to do these things, but he killed his father in cold blood, and I know that he will avenge people that he cares about.
Killed,
That part
killed his father because of the whole thing with
with the
Gloria. It's
exactly.
all
Yeah,
based on love. I mean, this is
which is
adult
what I just
Disney.
said. No, 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 no. I think you're right about like I think his motivation is love. And his motivation, another motivation that he has is like he wants people to respect him, but he
Hmm.
wants them to respect him for his own decisions,
Hmm.
which is what you brought up earlier about the sibling rivalry, right? He had no problem with Claudia taking over the business because all he wanted to do was be in love. He just wanted to go raise his babies with Gloria, get out he didn't want the expectations that his father put on him because he didn't want to do it. It's not that he can't. to do it. It's just that he didn't want to. He had different aspirations in life, and
Just
I agree with him.
and again, to go back to like the writing of the season too, because I think that's where sometimes the fan base gets so lost in the idea of anybody with a gun is supposed to kill somebody. Like Vic can kill, and I say he's not a killer to the same point is that like this is not like a very natural instinct of his to do it and be okay with it. You know, he needs love as a motivation, and he'll contemplate every move before he do it. But the other folks, like you mentioned, it's a no brainer. They're putting a bullet to your head and they're walking away, and that's just what it is. Much like how Tommy did Stacy. He didn't shoot first, think later. But my point I was going to make is that with the writing is exactly why you did not see him make any Irish moves this season. And it wasn't until his brothers got to his head, like, what are we doing? We're just sitting here chilling. We need you. You're our leader. And they hyped him up. And he
Yep.
was like, yeah, I can do it. That's that kid confidence though. That's the thing that even the acceptance of your dad or whoever is like when you get that battery put in your back, you start to do things that you may not be really instinctually wanting to do. I mean, most people consider liquid courage. Some people get their bros to get out there making them do things that they really ain't about that life and doing. And that's all that was for Vic. Vic is a lover boy. That's all he wanted to do. That's all he cared about. And that's very consistently been portrayed for 3 seasons. So again, when you talk about like understanding characters and your fantasy booking or whatever predicting whatever the future is going to be, you
Mhm.
have to think Vic cares about one thing. As you said, he wants to be respected for the decisions he's made, but everything else is being tunneled through love. And for 2 weeks with Ray, my boy's ready. he got
He ready to skip town,
yeah,
child.
he got her on the insurance. He done bought her a Birkin. And he don't care about none of that. He's like, hell with Chicago. We're getting
To
the hell
hell
out
with
of
it.
here.
She is the death benefit, everything. She
he
gets
didn't even
everything.
he didn't even bury his sister. He like, nah, I'm with my damn girl. I'm out.
Time out. Time out. Where's Claudia's body?
Hanging up on a fence in Chicago somewhere.
With
just chilling.
there's no funeral, no memorial service, no nothing. Claudia is gone.
Yeah.
Do you think we're even gonna see a funeral for Stacy?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think funerals are usually devices used for us to really signify someone's true death, and when it's in question. But
When it's in question.
but we already know it's in death because we already see the ripple effects of her death, just like Claudia's. So funerals is definitely one of those ones. Yeah, it's the
Excuse me, guys.
yeah. So I don't think so. It's such the screen time we don't need anyway.
I mean, we don't have the time. and this is something that we mentioned last week and I believe the week before with Bernard.
Bless
Excuse me,
you.
guys. Thank you. I'm struggling today. But
Mhm.
by this point in the season, they knew that the show was ending. So there are certain things that we're probably just not going to see. So for those questions that that I know are going to funnel in for people who didn't remember what filming was like at this time, especially after the strike and when they announced that the show was going to be ending after its third season.
Mhm.
No funeral scene, but there is something that someone brought up to me, and I want to make sure that we are all on the same page here. There is a funeral scene coming up, right? Because there were pictures that were let out, or there's like a still shot in the trailer that people picked apart where they saw some funeral. So now that we saw what happened with JP, is that for JP's funeral or is that for Stacey Marks' funeral? And you're saying, hey, we don't need to know that Stacey Marks, we don't have to have any finality for Stacey Marks because we already know that she's dead because of the blanket. When they pulled the white sheet
Mhm.
the white sheet back, we
Mhm.
know that she's gone. So do we have a funeral for JP?
I think that makes more sense because it's a family matter. And as much as there's so much drug business, there's also the whole point we're even in Chicago is Tommy left New York because he had lost everything. And in the wake of him losing everything, he went to seek something that he always wanted, and that was his own family. And thus into Chicago, a place where his family he didn't realize how deep his bloodlines went, I would say. So I think it's only right that because of why we're in Chicago for that notion that we make sure that everybody in that family is properly depicted, shown, and also just their arc is done properly. And then yeah, of course, JP, it makes sense to give Tommy, to give D Mac, Kate possibly to give them that moment because Kate loses another son.
Yeah.
Let's not get it twisted. Ghost, if
Ghost was her son.
Ghost was her son. So,
Mhm.
this is what does that mean for her? How does DMAC respond to seeing his grandma hurt when they just got close? And I mean, everybody knows the grandma. I don't care how far apart you are. Everybody got love for their grandma. And there's nobody in the world that will beef with their grandma. I don't care what the deal is. So you have to think that
You
how does
gotta be
he
a vile person to
vile
to
person?
beef with your grandma, right? You gotta be disgusting.
Really scum of the earth. But like at this point now, you have to say like, yeah, take a idea of saying how death's in the ripple effects. What does JP death mean for Tommy? What does it
Mhm,
mean for DMAC? What does it mean for Kate? What does it even mean for Maria? She's family now. You know what I mean?
mhm.
Like all these things are going to come into place. And I think around a casket or a funeral, which by the way, that puts Tommy in clear sight.
Okay, let's talk about one person, and then we'll. There's two things that I want to talk about. I want to talk about Shanti real quick. Then we'll talk about DMAC, and then we'll go over Jenard Weiland and bring it to JP. So really quickly, Shanti is Tommy's last hope at this point because of what happened between her and Jenard. And he feels like she still has territory, to which she does. She still has the Viagra triangle, and she has access to the clubs, and she still is a good, shrewd businesswoman. So he goes to talk to her and hopefully sway her to continue to work with him. For right now, it looks like she's agreeing to do so. There is something that Nagier brought up earlier, whereas Shanti is a strong woman character. And I appreciate that she is the strong one here, that she is drawing a line in the sand, so to speak, and saying, "Look, I'm not dealing with these people anymore. I wanted to get in with Che. Tommy still has a line in with Che, and this is the best of both worlds for her. She doesn't have to deal with an addict like Jenard. She doesn't have to possibly have to kill Diamond in order to get in with Che, but she does have to work with the stranger danger person that she's been talking to Jenard about for the past season and a half. So how she reconciles this in her brain is just that this is just a good business decision for her. Tommy has a lot of work that needs to be done and needs to be moved throughout her spaces, and she doesn't have to deal with her ex anymore. Any problems there from you? Nope. All right. So moving on from Shanti, DMAC. DMAC. So DMAC now understands that Jenard and even Diamond set him up with the 9/7s. And he goes to tell Marshall, and Marshall's reaction isn't what he expects it to be because he's like, "Well, you're my friend. I just told you that they tried to set me up." And he was like, no, they didn't set us up. They set you up. I just got back in good with them. I'm not gonna try to mess up my work with them to come work with you and your uncle who just got kicked out and they tried to set you up. No, I'm set here. Plus, let me tell you, I have to help my mom. I got to pay some bills around here. And D-Mac is like, well, your mama been working 3 jobs since I got here. What the hell you been paying?
Truth hurts. That's all I know.
And he knew that one stung a little bit because he was like, listen. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Right. And I commend DMAC because most men, they're or most people, their emotional uh their emotional intelligence isn't that smart or isn't that quick to realize I just hurt my friend's feelings. Let me step back here and get out of my own feelings and apologize. And he does it immediately. Most people don't do that. So he apologizes. But he also has an ulterior motive here because he needs help, right? It's literally just him and Uncle Tommy. It's just him and Tommy. And they got this whole big bag of stuff that they got to move. He doesn't know what's happening with Shanti. And he doesn't know his uncle's other plans on how they're going to move all of this product. But he does know that he needs Marshall's help. But Marshall says, no. Anything from you here?
No, I mean, I think the only thing is I agree with your assessment about like the maturity here, inadvertently, because I don't think there's been signs of that any other time with the two of them YNs and whatnot. But sometimes you get lucky. The, yeah, the clock lands on 12 on a broken clock at least twice a day. Um, but I do think that it's been a good arc between the two of them too, man. They're brothers, and we seeing them up and down the board throughout this series. Getting things together, and um, I can tell you at that age as well too, whatever age they're portraying, but just at a younger age too. Like, yeah, sometimes you do let some things get in the way of what matters most, and that is their friendship, their brotherhood. And it could be women, it could be jobs, it could be popularity. You're like you never carry one of your good friends because you saw an opportunity for you to be that guy. And I think that's a lot of what this is that Marshall is CBI proper. And he's
Right.
always kind of he never held it over his head, but he know in his heart he felt that way towards DMAC because DMAC wanted to be CBI for so long, but he's like, I am CBI. I'm good. I'm out here. They trust me. I do what I got to do. Um, and so when you get a situation of them, throwing bombs at each other and whatnot, it's just a lot of either hard truths that had not been said or just frustration amongst two brothers how they supposed to act here is to make it up and be like, yeah, you're right, we're brothers. And maybe we get that, maybe we don't. But for right now, it just doesn't look good because there's just so much at stake right now. And it's only going to get worse consider what happens with DMAC and now his rationality has got to be gone. My boy got to be a super saiyan YN by the end of this because he pissed off. His dad is gone. But I think that yeah, Marshall is just he's toting off that sort of that clout of being a CBI and not wanting to lose that position that he potentially may lose his best friend, his brother.
Oh, I want to do a call back here. This And I apologize for my voice and how I sound, people, but there's something that I want to jog your memory with. Remember back in episode 1, I believe, where Tommy goes looking for DMAC and he goes to Marshall's house and he knocks at the door and eventually he's just like, how does he know that I'm here? Why does everybody know where I live? And he goes inside and he gives Marshall a bit of advice, and I hope you guys remember this. He says to Marshall, I used to be you, and I used to protect my friend or my brother just like you did. And you have to make the decision. Are you going to always do this? Because it's never going to end well for you. And they didn't say that for just no reason. And look at what's happening right now. And I told y'all this from back when that episode aired. For Tommy to make that point to give Marshall that advice, I knew that there was going to be some sort of chasm within their relationship. Like, yes, he's protecting him up until however long he can. And one of them, something is going to happen to one of these people because Tommy would not just stop in the middle of a scene and just be like, listen, I did this. I protected my brother and it got me in trouble. And he's trying it. And at that time, granted, he was trying to get D-Mac to not be a part of this life. And now he is, and look at how everything has changed just within the course of 6, 7 episodes. He's like, okay, now I need your help. You have to help me. And he goes to lean on Marshall to help him. And Marshall is just like, no. Whereas now Marshall is taking Uncle Tommy's advice and like, listen, I did what you did before. And I wonder how that's going to bode for either Marshall and DMAC at this point. I know that he's not going to be okay with his friend just, I don't want to say leaving him out to dry, but his dad is now passed away. I'm sorry, guys, I'm struggling, but his dad has now been killed by Jenard, and they are essentially out on an island by themselves.
Yeah.
Tommy, D-Mac, JP too, but now JP is gone. I hope that Marshall continues to help, but it doesn't look like he will. What do you say?
Yeah, I mean, it just makes sense, but I think we're speaking from maturity. I think if you think about, again, the sort of our adolescence days, like, you don't make the right decisions when they matter. And I think for the sake of a show, and especially a show that has 2 more episodes, when it matters, it's gonna be interesting to see what Marshall does or what DMAC does in this matter, because DMAC again is at this point now, he doesn't have his soft spot of a father that's there to be empathetic to his decisions and who he
Mm.
is and understanding the streets, but also understanding what does it mean to be a father, mean to be a man? What does it mean to be vulnerable at that too? Qualities that DMAC were learning. Like again, the family aspect of the show. I know y'all not interested in it, but it's so
Y'all should
important.
be.
Yeah, it's important because again, Chicago's a character of its own, and even Gary said it in the sense of portraying what these YNs are in Chicago. It's also important to understand how YNs out of Chicago, how they make it. What does it look like to make it out of Chicago? What does it look like to have family in Chicago? What does it mean to be a product of the streets, but like the people that still support you and whatnot? That's why you have Genesis, where you're just like, well, who's this chick? It's too late in the game to have a love interest, but it's like, no, it's somebody that it's easy to say like this is somebody that sees how smart he is, something that we knew since the very very beginning of the show when they were had character profiles, that DMAC was intelligent, one of the best people with numbers, something we haven't really explored too much. But at the end of the day, she said like he had a hell of a high SAT. If he want to go to school, it's right there. Father's like, yeah, I would want that, but also I've already come to terms with who he is as a person, and I have to support that because I know what the streets do to these folks. So I just think that in a way, when it comes down to both Marshall, who we don't really have that much in the understanding of like everything with him, but obviously hearing about his mother working 3 jobs, which is I'm sure everybody's like, yeah, that makes sense. I can understand and relate to that. To somebody that's going to be able to make a wise decision when it matters for the sake of his family, his brother, his well being, and so on. And the two of them are both right now at a crossroads where it could be life or death, because that's just what the streets do to you, especially when it's out there. So gonna be interested to see, man. 2 more to go.
2 more to go. You brought up a good point here. And, obviously, there are a lot of themes that we follow within Power, whereas we repeat, I don't want to say storylines, but let's just say we repeat storylines. And one of the things you mentioned just now was JP accepting who his son is, even though he knows that he's this smart and he knows that he has this capability and a world of potential, right? That's something that we saw with Tariq. And one of his parents was pushing him to continue to go to school. Like, listen, I don't want you in this life. Actually, both of his parents were. Right? Because Tasha was too like, hey, you need to go to school. You don't need to do this. You don't she did it up until she couldn't do it anymore. She was like, "Hey, what do you want?" What like she couldn't understand why he would want to do this. She was like, "You know what? I understand who you are or who you think you are. Let me help you so that you don't die or worse. So you don't end up in prison. You don't die. Let me help you." And it's crazy how we're able to accept that from JP, but people weren't able to accept that from Tasha. They vilify Tasha for a lot of the decisions that she has made, especially as it went with Ghost, and particularly with Tariq.
Mhm.
So I just latched on to you like, listen, JP is just like, listen, we understand you have this high SAT score, but I understand who you are and what you want to do.
Yeah.
And it's glaring how as a fan base, people are willing to accept it for DMAC, but they weren't willing to accept it for Tariq. granted, they have two different living situations, whereas some people may qualify it and say, well, DMAC didn't have an easy go of it. He didn't have an easy life. He doesn't really have anywhere to live right now. And he just asked his dad to crash there. So, he had a rougher life than Tariq. So maybe that's people's justification for why it's easier for his dad to say, "Oh, I understand who you are," whereas it's not okay for Tasha to say the same thing? What do you think?
It's my gripes with the fan base sometimes too, because y'all know it all the time. Like y'all always know everything. Like I swear, it's the most common response in every comment in any content that we do is like, "Oh, I knew it. I knew it."
I knew it.
But if you knew it, then I don't understand how at times when there is that, and it's not because it's sort of like copy and paste story writing or telling or anything. It's because it's life. And in fact, if more parents were more acceptance of who their kids were in all facets, whether it's the decisions they make, the sexualities, whatever, that you do provide a better quality of life and healthier sort of trajectory for them, because the ones that aren't accepted deal with that trauma for a very, very, very long time, and then they are looking for that outlet for somebody to accept them, and that outlet is typically not a good place, and that could fall in the means of drugs, wrong clicks, whatever, or just displacement from family, because they's like, oh, my parents never accepted me, so I don't want to be there, which is why the DMAX storyline is really interesting, because he just got that. And now the person that gave it to him is gone. You could imagine that the Super Saiyan YN energy is just he gonna have gold dreads next episode and the gold gun, and he gonna his scorch earth. But no, yeah, I do love that, and I think, I don't know, maybe it is a measure of empathy with the fan base that y'all are acceptance of this, because y'all seen it the first time and now y'all like, oh, I get it. Um, but to the point though,
Huh?
because I think you kind of tapped on it. Kate now done seen this twice. Feel like Kate gonna have a little introduction possibly here. We keep wondering how it's gonna happen. I keep feeling like Kate's gonna facilitate one of those like, well, my nephew also knows this very he knows this very personal, and I don't think we know the age difference between Tariq and DMAC, and I don't think it matters. But I do think there will be a measure of like tutelage from Tariq at some point to be like, I know this feeling very personal, man. Losing your father. It doesn't matter how you lost it, because Tariq could have felt like he needed to do it. And DMAC could have just the bond, and whatever the bond there is or there was, they still have the still same absence of their father that's always going to linger within them. And the game being circled all around it. So it's going to be interesting. I swear to God, if we aren't given that moment at some point somehow, I'm going to be pissed. And it is what it is, because I trust them to do the right thing. But I think for the sake of fantasy booking, and goddamn, if it's even a podcast between the two of them and talking about the characters and how it would work, I would be all for it. But I mean, I think there's so much duality within the two of those characters that the fan base we're hungry for.
Yeah, I agree. So let's talk about how heads are gonna roll because Jenard has killed King Kilo, and he has also killed
You got King Kilo,
JP.
JoJo, and JP. Yep.
Yeah. So right now, I just want you to take me through there. I want you to tell me what next week. Give me a little preview of what you think next week is going to look like, because Tommy is going to lose his mind. If it wasn't bad enough that they tried to set up not JP, that they tried to set up DMAC, and now JP is gone and he was on the phone while it happened?
You know, it's funny. I
What?
literally feel like that's exactly what Diamond's stance is going to be on this. As if like, if it wasn't already enough that we tried to kill DMAC, you thought his father was the move. I think that Jenard's drug addiction is
Oh.
costly of everything around him. But to your point, D-Mac and Tommy are in hot pursuit of Jenard by any means
Yes.
necessary. Diamond 100% would not allow this. Lucas thinks Diamond's going to be the one to kill Jenard. I don't necessarily see that.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I feel like I don't know. It's really interesting because I'm like, it's got to be D-Mac, because yeah. But then I'm like, oh shit, there's Marshall here too, and it's like, I don't know what happens with that. I don't think Tommy's going to do it. I definitely don't think it's Tommy's going to do it. I think it means more if D-Mac was the one that did it for story reasons. But and then the other thing is Ortega is looking to get Tommy. So Tommy's looking at Tommy's. You start thinking about like the map here of things. Like Ortega's going after Tommy, so Tommy can't immediately just be out and about. You know what I mean? D-Mac um, is still a hot commodity because the RD's gonna be like King Kilo got. Well, hold on, wait a minute. Wait, wait a
Wait a
minute now.
minute.
We got answers, which by the way, you know they're not gonna be so fond of Jenard and CBI. I could imagine that's gonna be them, but I still would imagine D-Mac still is a hot interest of them regardless. So I don't know. There's just a lot of different ways it can go, but I think it's like chess. You don't want to make a move without understanding what the following response could be. So who knows
So
who's safe? But I tell you, Shanti is still safe for one more episode. There's nothing that's going on in that area. So I don't want to hear nobody say I knew Shanti was going to die. I don't want to hear it. There's nothing right now that says Shanti's in trouble. Shanti, the way Shanti, if Shanti does die, just to think a little bit forward, it's got to be in the same capacity of what's her name from last season that died? That was with Tommy, who
Lily,
called the kid. Yeah, Liliana.
Liliana. Okay.
It's gotta be just collateral damage in a big war where she just does something heroic or she just gets caught slipping, but nobody's personally going after Shanti. In fact, Shanti is probably the person you want on your side more than anybody right now, considering what she's doing. And we all know working drugs through clubs gives you a lot of power. See what I did there?
Yeah, I see what you did there. For Shanti, the only reason why I would think has people been saying that she's going to die? I haven't really been seeing that. That
No, but that's the thing. People again for on our recap.
uh-huh.
I started off the episode by saying I did not have JP dying in my bingo cards, and of course I'm like being slandered for like 10 minutes in comments like how you know so much about the show, but you didn't know that? Like, how'd you see that? I'm like, y'all are lying. And then they're like, well, MovieBot did a theory, which is fine. I like what he does in terms of how he
Uh-huh.
puts together his theory, but a theory doesn't also mean fact. But again,
Right. It's a
his
theory.
theory isn't your theory. So or mine at that. So I'm just saying on the record, like I didn't see JP die. I also just don't see Shanti dying. I just don't see it. It just doesn't make sense to me right now. But in JP's death, how they did it and what does it mean? Hell yeah. Well done. Again, to the writing. That's why I'm not in the writing room. I'm on the content side of these things, the journalist side of these things. So it is what it is. But just to that point, you haven't seen nobody say Shanti. I haven't seen nobody say Shanti. I don't want to hear none of y'all say, I knew Shanti was going to die.
I mean, I think do so here's my thing. Do I think she's going to die? Yes. Like she's on my list of people that will
Ooh.
die. Do I have do has there been anything throughout the show that has said that she's gonna die? No, because she's pretty much Switzerland right now. Nobody don't really got a beef with her. She's good with I mean, she's not good or bad with anyone right now. She's just in the middle. Like she's doing what Tommy needs her to do. Now, unless the only thing that I can make an argument for here is if Jenard gets upset with her or Diamond gets upset with her or CBI as a whole gets upset with her for breaking off with them and going with Tommy. That's the only thing I could see. Whereas she is a casualty just of war and she's just in the wrong place at the wrong time. But Diamond understands why someone like Shanti would leave Jenard's side because he's not making good decisions. So it's not as though Diamond can't see both sides of the playing field here because he can. He understands what the game is, which is why he gave him the advice earlier within the episode like, hey, you and Shanti make a good team. Make sure you keep her on your side. But Jenard wasn't able to do that. As a matter of fact, Jenard is messing up royally in this episode between him killing Kilo, JP, and not being able to solidify the relationship that he has with Shanti, even just as a working relationship, just lets me know like he is on a path of destruction right now. Which
Exactly.
leads me to my next, maybe my final question in terms of this storyline. How does this play out for Jenard? So when Tommy comes a looking, D Mac comes a knocking. How is Jenard gonna make it out of this? Because D Mac is coming, gold gun blazing, lock swinging. He. No, he's coming. He's
Yeah.
coming. Uh, Tommy is coming. And if there's anything that I know about Tommy, which is what I was surprised about last episode.
I got an idea.
We do. Okay, so last episode, I was very surprised that Tommy came in and tried to fight Diamond. Everybody told me, oh, he only came in to fight him because he is a part of the coalition and you can't go kill your partner, right? I mean, but Tommy it has killed plenty of people before. So did Ghost. We just finished telling y'all that, hey, if Ghost was here, he would have killed Che long, long time, right? So the fact that Tommy didn't come to the CBI meetup and just start with the gun out and shoot everybody, I was surprised, right? But let's say I'm playing the game for right now. But now I know Tommy is gonna come with the guns out, right? Because he heard Jenard killed JP. He he knows that he's not alive. He knows that he got a hothead nephew. They're coming for Jenard. But here's the question. I know I did a lot of setup there. Is Jenard going to die?
I don't see Jenard making it out of the season, but something you said earlier that I forgot to, and good I waited because right now is the perfect time. Everything you said about Marshall and DMAT really
Uh-huh.
applies also to Jenard and Diamond.
Sure does.
And I think that the brothers element thing in terms of making the right decisions
Uh-huh.
is going to be very important. And I also think my brother's keeper is also going to be a big factor in this.
Mm.
So I don't know, man. I just feel like Jenard's mistakes over and over as we see they're just building up episode after episode, it will be costly to everything that Diamond
They
has built,
built. Yeah.
everything that he tried to keep in store. And actually it's kind of what's the word? It's kind of poetic that um everything that Tommy said before him and Diamond fought about Jenard turned it all down and whatnot. Yeah, I can see that. But and again, I also want to say something I said earlier, maybe last season, this season. Like, I don't care how y'all want to look at it, and I know we like comparisons, but Diamond and Tommy, they were partners. I mean, they're brothers about how they made decisions and stuff like that, which is obviously the whole reason why Jenard doesn't like him because he's seen somebody taking his spot. And it wasn't just necessarily who's running CBI or who's on top of the coalition. It's like, that was my brother. Like,
Mhm.
he's stepping on my brother's, like, in my brother position toes. Like, that should be me in everything that we do. And I just think that hatred has what fueled Jenard, which made him do the things he's done. But I think on respect, I think Diamond also recognizes that as well too. When he now it's all white boy this, white boy that. But this is the same time. It's like, yeah, y'all were business partners, y'all made business decisions, and you realize, yeah, you did let him close because you did accept him almost as a brother, which is not good to your actual brother that's there. And there's people that's been doing that too in real life. There's people that got blood brothers and then they end up having best friends who is dear for them more than another person. That does never go over well most of the time until there's like a very healthy adult conversation that's had. But you know, for show purposes, we expect this to be very Eve Rivera like of a conclusion, you know. But the
Yeah.
other thing I want to ask you, 'cause I really want to get the female perspective here, is what you think about Raheem that's couldn't wait to jump at an opportunity to be Shanti's knight.
You know, I had I had some notes about him for that scene. Um and I skipped over it on purpose when I was talking about Shanti earlier because you know what, I'll talk to you about that off camera. So so in terms of Raheem doing that, I thought that that was so corny. I hated that. So and I was gonna bring this up for the two things that I didn't like. So let's do it really quickly. Two things that I didn't like for this episode, and then I'll ask you two things that you didn't like. I didn't like Raheem trying to swoop in and trying to be Shanti's knight in shining armor from selling sneakers. I was so annoyed with him. I'm just like, listen, as much as Jenard may not be a fan favorite or he may be on Shanti's shit list right now, you're still no Jenard. You're not gonna cut Jenard was running CBI for what 15, 20 years when Diamond was locked up, and you gonna come in here and tell me you was selling sneakers in order to give me this? Get out my face. Please. Leave me alone. Uh let me work this out with Tommy and figure out how exactly I can still be my own woman and still be able to establish my own business practices here and my own foundation for a solid business. Something else that I didn't like within this episode, I hate that they're pushing Tommy and Miguel together. Like I like them better as adversaries. I understand why it has to happen because Tommy is being isolated and he's being iced out from CBI, from the coalition. I understand why it's happening. I just am not necessarily a fan of it happening because I don't feel like we have enough time to explore uh Tommy and Miguel reunion or union within the rest of the season. But that's just me. Two things you didn't like.
I don't like the whole Sang and Chan thing. I just don't understand how this dude Chan is just walking through unscathed, unmonitored, unsurveillanced, just no questions asked. Like I get it before that, he might have had lawyer duties within there, but like who's left for him to be a lawyer for? You know what I mean? So how he just moving the way he's moving and whatnot is just definitely a little suspicious. In a way, we know it has to catch up, but I just don't like how like he hasn't been checked at all. This dude is going and moving as he please. So yeah, but I thought it was funny. He's like, "Well, I see your wife home got home early. I'll get
So he's like,
Ortega. I'll get Ortega out tomorrow." Is something that I also don't like.
oh,
Same thing,
Jesus.
because I don't think we need to spend a lot of time in terms of how, but we damn sure don't have no time to figure out how. And I can only imagine that he's going to use Stacy being compromised by Tommy as a means to doing so, and or Stacy's absence to um to keep him. I forget all the legal terms, but like Stacey was working on trying to keep him in jail and needed to get the RICO case in order to do so. With her not there to pursue that, then it just makes a clear path for it. But I need them to ensure that they take a 2-minute scene to not just bullshit us, and Ortega's just out and about chilling, and we don't really fully understand why, because you would have to imagine even when Stacy's gone, somebody has to be like, wait a minute, there's no way we're letting this happen, right? There's no way. There has to be a measure of fight back in order for somebody of his statue to just walk free. But we don't have time for it. So I
I'm
don't like it.
just I'm just confused because it, I know some people don't watch the preview for the next episode, but I do. And Ortega has on a Versace shirt and it's outside already. And I'm doing
Oh, for
an
the for the for the
for
preview?
the preview for
Oh yeah, see, I didn't watch the preview.
see?
Okay.
For the preview
Versace,
for next
Versace.
week's episode. I'm just like, Lord have
Well,
mercy.
he may do with the
So
promise then. So there it
yeah,
is.
So we're just gonna have a cartel leader just out of prison, and what they're probably gonna do is, this is me completely speculating, guys. They're gonna say that Stacey was corrupt. There was some sort of wrong evidence. Ortega has to get out. I think Sang is gonna let slip something about Tommy or something that he found out throughout the time of them investigating Stacey's murder, and that's going to lead them to letting Ortega out. And then we see him out, and it's just gonna be hell up in Chicago because because he's out. Tommy has to go kill Jenard. D Mac has to go kill Jenard. They also have to plan a funeral. They do have to go after Ortega because, remember, Tommy still has a lot of people to get back at because he did send Titus after Maria. So we had a lot of people to avenge.
Yeah. So
We got
that,
a
I
lot
mean,
of people to avenge.
that just goes back to the Marquez cartel for the head. He got to make sure that Che gets his money. He got to worry about the
God.
family business, the family matters as well. You know, he has to make sure that he has his side of the coalition lined up so he can get the green light from Che. But obviously, you can't go to Che without the money. But Shanti, which is the Raheem thing, which is important. Which I'm like, see, y'all always got problems with the writing, but like, what if Shanti didn't have that extra money come out of nowhere, right? Like, where the hell did Shanti get all this money from?
From the Viagra
She
Triangle.
wasn't, yeah, but she wasn't even the direct plug. You know what I mean?
Oh, right.
She would have to been needed to been at the level of like CBI and Tommy to be getting more to make more. So that extra money, which by the way, listen, StockX be getting y'all. So of course it's a street level StockX. And just like all the dispensaries, there's people out there that's still selling on the corner as well too. So like y'all can talk about how it make money or don't make money, whatever. Listen, just go with it, okay?
Yeah,
Just
I
go
mean,
with
I
it.
do. It's power. I just go with it sometimes. Like, hey, listen, I ain't gonna fight y'all on this. It was nobody in the parking lot with Maria. She was just able to run somebody over, shoot him, and it's I just go with it.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just I just be rolling with it.
Mhm.
But I want to thank you today. I feel like we had a great conversation. We
Yeah.
got a lot of things answered. I love your point of view on a lot of this stuff, especially the way how you advocate for the writers and the storytelling. I love that about you. But I want everyone to please check out Big Gold Belt Media. They don't only cover power, they cover everything. There is content about all of the shows, wrestling, and everything all together there. So it's not just one thing. So please go check out my friends at Big Gold Belt Media. Thank you so much, Nagier, for hanging with
Yeah.
me today and talking about Power, Book 4, Force. Any predictions for next week before we get out of here?
I don't know, man, but let's just have some fun. Eve is directing, so you already know it's about to be a storm. So we're gonna see. We're gonna
Yes,
see.
I agree. There is a storm coming, and one that apparently only Tariq could save. I'll see you later, guys. Have a good day and a good week and happy holidays and happy new year. Remember, no break next week. There is a break after episode 9. And that's it. But the episode 9 will be airing next week. So tune in. See
Yeah.
you all later.